Kia ora Year 10. This video is going to revise what we know about GST and also along the way increasing and decreasing by a percentage. So these problems have got a few more steps in them than the ones that we first did in class. So just make sure you've got your pen and exercise book with you, ready to do them as I do. So the first two questions are about dentists. Shiny Now Dentist charges $56 a visit, excluding GST. Remember, we're going to highlight or underline. So we might want to underline this, exclusive of GST, and we need to find the charge including GST. And the next part of the question says if the dentist sees 17 people per day, how much GST does she pay per day? So there are a couple of different parts to the question. So the first part is to put on the GST. We're going to go 56 times 1.15 equals 64.40 per hour. Right, when we first did that, remember we always used the bubble diagram like this, but many of you now don't need it. It's fine if you still do, okay? So that's putting on the GST. So the charge per hour is 64.40 per hour. So we've done that one. It's a big tick in red. Here we are. Now, if the dentist sees 17 people per day, how much GST does she pay per day? So let's work out what GST she pays for one visit. We can do that in two ways. We can either work out the difference between 64.40 and 56, like that, and we'll get 8.40, and that's per visit or per person, right? Or we can say, well, we know that GST is 15% of the original amount, so we can do 0.15 times 56, and that's going to give us, obviously, the same number. Now, if it's not obvious, we'll go over that in class. And that's the per person GST. And she sees 17 people per day. So we've got 17 times $8.40 equals, what does that give me? I get $142.80. And that's total GST per day. Now just have a think, if I'd asked you to do that for a week, whether we'd use 7 days or something else, and let me know. Right, so that's the first question done. Next one. Okay, won't hurt your dentist charges $64 per visit, including GST. Okay, so things to underline in here, $64 per visit, and that's including GST. So you can probably guess where the question's going. He sees 16 people per day. What GST does he pay per day? So we have to work out the price before GST. So I'm going to do this one using the bubble first, just to remind you that this time we know the including GST price. We don't know what this was, but we know that we multiplied it by 1.15 because we had to add on the GST. So to undo that calculation, we're going to divide by 1.15. So what do we get when we do that? Well, 64 divided by 1.15 gives me $55.65. And that's the before GST or GST exclusive price. So now we can work out the GST per visit. GST or per person, which is the same thing for a dentist. I'll just do this one way. I'll do 15% of 55.65. I could have done the gap in the two amounts. What does that give me? Well, 15% of 55.65 is $8.35. So for 16 people per day, we have 16 times $8.35, which gives me $133.60. Right, an easier problem now. Shoes cost $17.80 excluding GST. What do they cost including GST? Right, using my bubble diagram if I have to, here's $17.80. I'm putting on GST, so I'm increasing the price by 15%. And that's going to give me $20.47. The other way to do it, for when you're confident, is simply 1780 times 1.15 equals 2047, and we need to say that that's including GST. And again, when you're first reading the question, even if it's a simple one, if you're in a test, just circle the keywords. The shoes cost that much excluding GST. We have to find the price including GST. Okay, 2 more problems, all using the same ideas. A mountain bike repair shop is charging $27.50 per hour, excluding GST. And the owner works on your bike for 3 hours. So, what do you pay? Well, we can do it in one of 2 ways. First, we can do $27.50 times 3, and that's going to give me the charge for the 3 hours. And what will that be? Well, that will be $82.50. So that's still ex GST, excluding GST. And then we can take that amount, $82.50, and we can put on the GST. So I'm leaving the bubble diagram behind now. Times 1.15. And we end up with $94.88. Okay, so that's the first one. The second time you get your bike repaired, it takes 2 hours and the owner offers you a 7% discount. So there are a few different ways to think about this. First of all, we can do 2 times $27.50, which is equal to $55. So that's still excluding GST. Now we're going to put the GST on. $55 times 1.15. Just doing that quickly on my calculator. That gives me $63.25. And lastly, he's offering me a 7% discount. So $63.25 times, well, let's think about this. 100% is the whole, 7% is the decrease. So it's going to be times 0.93. Now I'm going straight to that step because we've done tons of practice now at those problems. Okay, but if you're still finding them tricky, go further back in what we've done until they feel easy. So that works out to be 58, let's see, 58.82, and that's to the nearest dollar and cent. Now just if you're looking at that, you'll notice that in this case it doesn't really matter what order I did the calculations. I could have done the discount first and then put on the GST and then done the hours. Because I'm multiplying and multiplication is commutative, meaning the order doesn't matter, the problem's going to end up in the same place, right? I'm going to end up with 58.82 anytime. And it would be good if you tried out doing it in a couple of different ways. Right, one last question and then we'll be done. Okay, we've got a new sleeping bag and it costs $160 including GST. So you can probably guess that this question is going to be about removing GST. And both Macpac and Kathmandu are offering really good deals. Macpac is offering 15% off. Kathmandu is offering to pay your GST, which is a fancy way of saying we're taking off the GST. So let's look first at Macpac. 15% off means a 15% discount. So 100% minus 15% is 85%. Converting that to a decimal, we get 0.85. So the Macpac price is going to be $160 times 0.85. And to the nearest dollar and cent, what do I get? 160 times 0.85 is equal to $136. Now Kathmandu is removing the GST. So again, if we've got our bubbles, this is the usual price of 160. We want to know what's the price before GST. So it's going to be 160 divided by 1.15. So I need a new label. Kathmandu. It's going to be 160 divided by 1.15 to remove GST, and that's $139.13. So, which deal is better? Well, there's not that much in it. Kathmandu is $3 more expensive. Macpac is $136. Kathmandu's $139. So, it depends. That is worth a hot chocolate or a cup of coffee, so it's better than nothing. But on the other hand, the Macpac shop might be a little bit too far for you to walk, or you might have a loyalty card for Kathmandu, but not for Macpac. Those kind of factors in real life are going to make as much of a difference as the $3 difference. And if you are doing maths in the real world, it's not just always about the final answer. Okay, so I hope that's helped with GST. Go through the questions and make sure that you can do them on your own and do the working in your book. Thanks for watching.